Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here on Shadowplay FM, it's me, John Gray, also known as DJ Sam. And tonight is a really special night, special evening for all of us, as you can hear. It's the first time we broadcast in English, yeah, and I really hope it's the first and not the last. And we broadcast in English because we have very special guests. I can even say we have special guest stars tonight here in studio. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to introduce to you Daddy Lion, one of my favorite bands. It's an independent band from the USA. And good evening, first of all. Good evening and thanks for coming. I was really excited when you agreed to answer my question to make this show. I always wanted to know something more about your project, and I think the first question will be uh, to you, Jeremy. Personally, I just wanted to know something about the history of the project, and the first question is, when did you start writing songs, and who inspired you, who influenced you the most? I realize this question is kind of corny, but I listened to your early samplers, Bummer Summer and Sounds from the Box, and like them, especially the second one, for its short acoustic sketches like The Finality of Defeat, or Status Quo, or Number Two's Blues. So, what was the starting point for it?
When I was young, I used to take classical piano lessons. So the first complete song I ever wrote was actually a classical piece when I was 11 years old. But that same year, I was playing in a band in middle school, and I wrote, I guess, my first rock piece, which actually became eventually Bug Off Bunny on the Bummer Summer record that I put out eventually. But that riff I actually wrote when I was 11 years old. Um, but it really wasn't until the end of high school that I started taking rock music in terms of writing more seriously. And probably a big influence then was I kind of discovered, I guess, like punk music, so like Husker Du um, and Wire and bands like that. That kind of got me going then. But I'd always, growing up, I was a big fan of Nirvana, huge fan since I was like 8 years old, and Dinosaur Jr. as well, and Sonic Youth. And so those are really big influences for me. And when I was in college, I discovered Bowie and Iggy Pop. And I guess it was towards the end of high school, I discovered Modest Mouse. So those are all really big influences on me. And in terms of the stuff well, let's talk about songs from a box for the short acoustic sketches that you mentioned. That was when I was in college, my senior year of college. I wound up living alone in very much just this kind of like box like apartment. I didn't really have anything in it, so it just felt kind of like this empty box I lived in.
Yeah, also, you also mentioned it in lyrics for Sun Morning, yeah.
And I wound up writing a lot of songs. I was pretty depressed. Um, and I guess the two songs you mentioned, The Finality of Defeat and like Number Two East Blues, those ones, I was very obsessed with some girl who didn't like me back, and just I wrote a bunch of songs for her that got increasingly creepy, I guess. but uh, spent a lot of time by myself writing songs, and those songs, I mean, there were so many that I'm still very much, I guess 10 years later, still kind of working on developing that output. But there were a lot of those that were kind of, ultimately, I liked them just as kind of sketches. So I left those there. And Bummer Summer, that was actually the summer between my junior year and senior year of college. And I was just living at home that summer, and I had a drum set in my basement that I borrowed from a neighbor. So I recorded those songs really freaking loud. Um, my sister was home, and she was studying for the bar exam. She just graduated law school, so she was really pissed off, I think, that I was playing drums really loud. Um, but that was a lot of fun then too.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, yeah. All right. Um, So now I think we can just listen to one of these songs from Bummer Summer Sampler. You know, I have an official permission to broadcast it from the line themselves. Yeah, it's cool. So let's listen to this song "Bug of Bunny" on Shadowplay FM, Daddy Lion.
Think about you, babe, most every day. I think about you, babe, is that okay? I don't know what I want anyway. You invite me here with not to say. And I'll try not to get annoyed, but I can't keep on letting acting coy. When you got your boy, you got your boy. Keep on playing with me like I'm just a wind-up toy, yeah. Come back another time, 'cause I cannot see you within in your bedroom. And maybe you do, I'll know soon what I really, really think of you. Baby, understand now, haven't got a clue. Think about you, baby, is that alright? I think about you till I'm awake all night. And I know that we have been so tight, but maybe it'd be better if I kept you out of my sight. The peace of mind, hard to find if I come back another time, 'cause I cannot see you with him in your bedroom. Or maybe two, I'll know soon what I really, really think of you. Maybe understand now, haven't got a clue. You leave with time, then you get time, but pretty soon I'm getting by. But where is all this leading? The letters no one's reading. Peace of mind, hard to find if I'll come back another time, 'cause I cannot see you within in your bedroom. Within in your bedroom. Within in your bedroom.
You're listening to Shadowplay FM. My name is John Gray, and we continue our conversation with the band Daddy Lion. The next topic I want to discuss is about videos. You know, to my mind, nowadays we see that the interest of the audience towards underground bands and music videos is shrinking. But I know you made several cool videos to promote your music. First of all, the video for Sun Morning, which was awesomely cute, and also your latest videos about Candy Mafia and the Mall. So do people really lose interest towards such videos, or so it seems? I mean, the good music is always sort of cinematic. It makes you imagine some pictures or movie scenes they can be put into. Um, what do you think about this connection between music and video?
I'll answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't think it's necessarily a lack of interest in video. I think it's more of attracting audiences from another front. It's admitting that your audiences aren't all coming from radio or college radio or CD sales, but there's quite a lot of people that are online and surfing on YouTube and wasting time, and the things that are getting attention are often video based. And so, as a musician, it's not that you are defeated, it's just that you can be creative in another way. And I love the idea. I've played music in different bands for something like 20 years, but as obvious as a music video might seem, nobody I've ever played with before Jeremy has suggested that, hey, we should go out and take a video camera and have an afternoon of recording ourselves being silly or being creative. And I think that's a really cool, viable option. And I always have fun, and it's another creative avenue for us. I think it's fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah, the videos have been super fun. I think there's so many videos out there that maybe, as the YouTube market gets bigger and bigger and bigger, every second there's a billion hours uploaded, it's harder to maybe find the band's videos. But we still, YouTube is the way a lot of people get introduced to music nowadays, so it's great to make videos. But most importantly, is it's just really, really fun. Like, I think we'd be making these videos even if, like, no one was watching. It's just really fun thing to have. I know I like sitting back and watching our videos,
Yeah, they're fun to make for sure. We had a lot of fun with the costumes in the mall. That one, I think that's been my favorite experience because it involved so much legwork and so much forethought regarding the shots. We had to kind of line everything up and then figure out how it was going to play out so we could do it seamlessly, and carefully time the endings of the shots so they'd work with cuts to elsewhere. Blurring the camera by moving it to the sides would kind of act as a transition. So thinking about all those things was a lot of fun. And like Bart and Jeremy said, it's just another medium to play with, and whether it gets you viewers or not, it sure is a good time to make them.
I can to an extent kind of agree and relate to the growing disinterest in music videos, if not for the reason that if you're finding your videos through YouTube or whatever format you find, who knows that the video you're watching, how much involvement the band has in with it, what the relation is to the music and the actual video you're watching. And that's one of the things that's been so refreshing doing the videos that Daddy Line does is, there's no producers, there's no think tank other than the band itself going into, producing and directing it. So it's not like, when you see these large budget, large production films or, videos on YouTube and stuff that, the band just kind of showed up and, jump how high and do this trick, do that trick, or actually involved from conception to the production of it in every aspect of the video, which is, unusual and refreshing.
Oh yeah, I can agree with you. It's really so. You're right when you're speaking about this independence from producers or people who tell you what to do. This sincere approach you have is really refreshing too. So now let's listen to one of your latest songs, which also has cool video for it. It's called Perpetual Flower, and let's just listen and enjoy Daddy Line Perpetual Flower on Shadowplay FM. We're back on Shadowplay FM with me, John Gray, continues talking to Daddy Lion. Okay, the next question is, I know Daddy Lion started as a solo project, and now you're a four-piece band, right? Is it now easier to work and make songs in a band, or something becomes even more difficult? What the other guys from the band brought to the sound of Daddy Lion, how they influenced it, and also one thing that we kind of missed in the beginning. Can you please introduce to the audience your bandmate, Jeremy?
We've been playing as a full band now. The full lineup's been together for, I think, about a year and a half now, roughly.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing about playing in a full band is just a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun to play with these guys. It's a lot different than being just alone in your room. Getting to come here and play with these guys, that makes the whole thing. It makes it into, first of all, a real band. And there's something very different about being actually in a real band. And the main thing, I think, is it allows us to actually, like, rock out. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but, like, these are ultimately rock songs. And so playing with a full band, you can actually do that. So that's been something that's really fun for me. In terms of my influences, I was always coming very much from kind of indie and college rock stuff. But the band, and I'll let them speak for themselves now, they've brought all sorts of new influences to the group. We come from very diverse backgrounds, so it's pretty cool. So I'll let, to the left of me, Chris Johnson, the synth player, speak for himself.
I think some of my main influences with regard to this project are Death Cab for Cutie, Modest Mouse, David Bowie, as you mentioned. Let's see. I'm also inspired by a bit of electronica, so kind of a mixture of electronica and rock. Acts like Fortet and Burial and who else? Aphex Twin. So I think that's about it for me.
If we're Roxy Music, Chris is Brian Eno. All right, and to the right of me is Randy Franklin, who plays bass.
I actually learned playing more like hardcore type music. So especially when I was high school and playing bands, I was more influenced by Comeback Kid and Poison the Well and Norma Jean, and I listened to Modest Mouse and some more indie type stuff. In addition to that, but I've tried and kind of merge the two influences in regards to writing and playing with Daddy Lion a lot of the times.
And last but not least, on drums is Bart Ballington.
I think I've always listened to more indie music than I've actually played, but I was excited to kind of try to lend what I knew to something that was more obviously indie. Like Chris, I listened to a lot of Death Cab prior to this. I like Oakville River a lot, and as a drummer too, I kind of have always prided myself on, being able to kind of be a chameleon. And so when Jeremy delivers us these kind of skeletons of songs, often we'll just get a demo with just the acoustic guitar, and I like kind of seeing what comes to mind, and that might be something that, was from that day's listening or otherwise, but I like just seeing what I can bring to the table. And like Jeremy said, I think there's nothing like collaboration as far as bringing you outside yourself and making yourself play with other people is the best experience, musically that you can have.
Yeah, I think it's great. I guess I'm missing this, but I wish I had a real band too, but I'm just glad for you guys that you have fun playing music together and experiencing this spirit of collaboration, if it's possible to say so. Okay, let's interrupt for a while. It's actually not an interruption because we're going to listen to one of your songs. It's going to be Evermore from your latest EP, Daddy Lion, Evermore on Shadowplay FM.
Streets he walks alone.
We're back on Shadowplay FM, continuing our conversation with Daddy Lion. Well, probably my favorite Daddy Lion song is Uranium-235. Does this song have some special story? Perhaps there are some other songs which have their interesting stories, which can be told now, or it's too personal to discuss.
Uranium 235 definitely has a special story. So it's sort of supposed to be kind of Habitat is sort of a cohesive whole of a record. I don't know if I'd say it's a concept album, but all the songs kind of thematically are working with one another. And Uranium 235 is supposed to be kind of like the final scene in a movie. Actually, I imagine Uranium 235 being the final scene and No Solution But Resolution being the music that plays as credits are rolling. And Uranium 235, that is the main element in the atomic bomb. So some of the themes that I'm playing with on Habitat are kind of man's relation to nature. What are we doing to nature with our technology? How are we evolving as a species? What does that do to kind of our spiritual side? How does that change kind of man's notion of religion and morality? And I guess I worry a lot about kind of the dark side of mankind and what that means when it's combined with very powerful technologies. So some of the songs that deal with kind of the dark side of mankind are like Werewolf, Survivor's Guilt, that's about the Holocaust.
Yeah, that's also one of my favorites, so Survivor's Guild.
Uranium 235 is about the atomic bomb, of course. And so I talk a lot about in that song things about being, you know, like a massive desire that I cannot escape. So, you know, just kind of like this ever yearning, you know, burning in man's heart. And is it all for good, or can it be kind of for destructive purposes? So there's kind of, you know, Eros and Thanatos. And what happens when Thanatos, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, when that combines with something like the atomic bomb. And, you know, so here we are, and we've harnessed nature, right? We've harnessed the power of the sun. So the line where it goes, you know, the fiery sun's beckoning me. Yes, it burns at 10 million degrees. So the nuclear bomb it's like that fiery sun, and it's beckoning me. You know, there's just kind of this destructive urge that I think can kind of take hold in an atomic bomb and lead to kind of the destruction of the whole world. So the final noise on that song is an explosion of a hydrogen bomb. It's actually, this would be appropriate for a Russian audience because I think it's let me look up real quick, the Tsar bomb. I think that's what it's called. Let's see.
Yeah, Tsar bomb, we call it Tsar bomb, but...
Yeah, the Tsar bomb. Well, that's its nickname, at least in America. So that was the largest hydrogen bomb, the most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated, Wikipedia says. So that's a recording of that. And then it's followed by a recording of a sound of, I guess, nuclear radiation coming off of the sun. So that's supposed to be, you're supposed to hear the kind of parallel there between the atomic bomb and the sun. And here we've taken the power of nature, we've put it into our own hands, but do we have the moral guidance to be able to use it properly, or will we ultimately just destroy ourselves? And that's sort of the final theme in Habitat. What are we going to do with this habitat that was given to us, and now it's one that we are creating? We're taking over the creation process of the habitat for mankind. And it doesn't end so well in my story, but hopefully it ends better in reality.
Definitely, let's have our fingers crossed for this and make sure this will never happen in real life. So I think it's perfect time now to listen to this fantastic song, Daddy Lion, Uranium 235 on Shadowplay FM. This is Shadowplay FM and me, John Gray. Haven't listened to Uranium 235 by the Line again. Topics like this do make me feeling more concerned and worried about this too. I want to thank you for this story. It was really interesting to me, and I hope for our listeners too. It's one of really serious problems. I just starting to think more and more about this, but I just have one more question for you, the last question for tonight, and I should ask it, although it also seems a little bit corny to me, but I'm really interested. So, what are your plans for this year, for 2015? Do you guys plan any more releases or videos or any other activities this year?
Yeah, where we're at now, it's June, and we've been basically since our EP release last April for the Perpetual Flower EP, we went straight into working on songs for a full length. And it's going to be 10 songs, and we've worked through about 9 of them and one more to go. So we're pretty close to getting to the point where we can go into the studio, and I think, sometime in the next, definitely this year, we're going to be hitting the studio.
Cool.
And if all goes well, hopefully releasing maybe a track and a video, like a single from it, before the year is up with like a new video. I think that would be, to record it and put out a single by the end of the year, I think that would be a good goal. But we're definitely very close to having the album ready to record.
Great news.
I think we've been a lot more, creative as far as learning new songs this year than our track record might attest to. I actually feel like it's only June, of course, but I actually feel like this has been a really, really super strong year as far as learning. I mean, this only represents about third of the time we've been together, 2015. But I mean, our learning keeps getting exponential. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, we work together songs a lot quicker now. I mean, when they've come to fruition really
maybe that's
quick.
what it is. We just get more used to each other, and the ideas flow more naturally, and you're better able to communicate those ideas.
I think we've been learning so many songs that we've been actually cycling out ones from our live set that haven't been released yet, like Maslow, for instance. Like, we haven't played that in a couple shows now.
That's true.
And just because we've had so much new stuff to play paired with, a couple old strong ones, but
I feel like we're usually about 5 songs ahead of what the strongest Daddy Line fan knows about.
Well,
something like that.
Some of these songs, I feel like the first 2 we learned for the new album, we actually may have even played at our EP release show.
Yeah,
last May or June. So the album is dating back too close to a year, because we were playing songs at shows that are going to be in this upcoming album as long as a year ago. But I think in the relatively soon to come plans is we want to start pre-production on this just as soon as possible, so that way we can have time to really reflect on the album and what it's going to be, and take the time to sit back and see what the songs are, and just listen to what we've spent all this time writing, and kind of craft it from there.
That's a fantastic news. I'm really looking forward to hearing new stuff from you and watching the new video later this year, as well as all of our listeners, I believe. Thank you for the answers. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I wish you'll be famous and prosperous, because you really deserve it. And it was a great opportunity to talk to you. Hope it was interesting to you too, and I also hope that someday we will chat again or we will meet somewhere. Well, thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. It was Daddy Lion, awesome band from the US. So, our broadcast for tonight is almost over. Thanks for listening again. Check out the schedule of our broadcasts. I guess the next one might be on next week. And in the end, let's listen to one more cool Daddy Lion songs. It's also one of my favorites. It's called Falling to Pieces Through With You. And you are listening to Shadowplay FM. My name is John Gray. It was really special evening.